There's just one last thing I wanted to ask you, but I wrote a post about, so like suffering is grace. That's something that I had to, it was very difficult for me to contemplate, because for a
Mm.
while I was, I was telling myself I don't need to suffer to grow, like I was going through this. So it confused me so much. Like suffering is grace, right?
Mm.
So can you just say something about that maybe?
Yeah, that's the deepest teaching of any human teaching. Those three words. And what I can do, if I say, when I did a course a couple of years ago, I went to Russia, I went to St. Petersburg, and we did this course. It was called the Seventh Seal, and I have an online program called the Seven Seals, and it's all about this. And it's a very spiritual course actually, and very easy. You just it's a meditations that you do, invocations that you do each day, and it's about surrender to the higher forces, surrendering your suffering to the higher forces, so that they kind of start to help you transform that suffering, like in a kind of alchemy. Anyway, so we were in the room. We have 150 or so people in a big room, and we had some nice music on, and I just took those three words, suffering is grace, and we try and then we just spoke those words, walking around the room looking in each other's eyes, every single person in their own language, a lot of Russian, so, and you just looked in their eyes and you kept saying it, and you kept saying it, and you kept saying it, and you looked in the other person's eyes and you could see their suffering. I mean, there's just no, that you could see the tears come up in each other's eyes, and then you keep moving and you keep looking, and the whole room filled with these three words vibrating, and
Mm.
people were like, how can suffering be grace? How, and then at a almost predetermined moment, people started to pop open, all of us, with tears started to come, hearts started to open, the whole energy in the room shifted as we opened to that kind of incredible, almost like angelic field. And we all kind of began, we all realized it was way bigger than all of us, the collective wounding of humanity. And it's there in the greatest teachings. It's in the words of Christ, the actions of Christ. It's there in the Buddha's words. It's there in, Zarathustra and Muhammad and all the great teachings, and Judaism. They all have this same understanding, but it takes a big leap, and it takes a big soul to open to that, to go, okay, is that really true? How can that be true? You know, the only way is through. The only way to understand those three words is to go through. You can't sit back and go and analyze it. You have to let it in. You have to look. You have to meet the suffering. So if your husband or your child or someone is dying and suffering or whatever it is, you have to kind of go and be with
Mm.
them
Okay.
and meet them fully and accept it and receive it and trust that it's a part of something higher. And then it starts to open in you. And anyone that really lets it in fully has that transformational experience, particularly around death. That if someone, even it can be a great deal of pain, but then there's this moment of transport often if you're around someone who's dying, and if they're able to surrender fully,
Mm.
then there's a shift in the energy, and they accept their death, and it's such a sweet moment for everyone involved. Like there's this kind of oh, and the person who's dying just remembers, I've died before.
Oh my
It's
God.
safe to die, and because there is something else here going on. So the core of suffering of grace is the remembrance that life is divine.
Yeah.
I mean, so but yeah, so it's a big it's a big teaching.